your thing. You wanna play Mars? Play your.
I said, welcome to sweet Trinidad. To have you here, I am very glad. Let me wish you happy holiday. I do hope that you enjoy your stay. Find a little rag and put it in your pocket. Buy a little flag. That's the way they do it. Find yourself a band. Find a good position. When the music blasts, you'll find out how to play, man. When they say rock,
When you rock,
when they say rock, pull your rock. When they say black, pull your black. When they say black, pull your black. And
wave it, wave it, wave it, wave it. Do your thing,
do your thing, do your thing, do your thing. When they say wine, you got to wine. When they say wine, you got to wine. When they say wine, hold your waist. When they say wine, hold your waist.
roll it, roll it, roll it, roll it.
Do your thing, do your thing.
I love Shadow.
Do your thing.
Woo!
Do your thing. Jump up,
Wind up, wind up.
yeah, yeah. Jump up, wind up, wind up. Now yo, happy fun, darling. Yeah.
On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it. On target.
So I'm your host, Kelvin Daly, and I thank you for joining us once again.
Join the conversation.
I looked at it on Facebook and I read the speech and I'm trying to find out what is the commitment to renal failure in Nevis, and I'm yet to find it.
Be a part of the debate.
What he needs to do is to allow the people to do their work in accordance with the relevant legislation, and he must not overreach, because when he makes those suggestions, he is in a sense misleading the population here.
Speak your mind. Defend your country. Call in. Numbers to call: 869-669-7312. That's 869-669-7312 or 917-460-2187. That's 917-460-2187. On target here on 2020 Vision Radio every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. On target. Be a part of it.
Let me say a special good afternoon to all those who have joined us here on 2020 Vision Radio on a lovely Saturday afternoon here in downtown Charlestown. It's quite hot. It's hot, hot, hot. No sign of rain. Overcast. And it is stiflingly hot outside. And so thank God we are inside in the studio of 2020 Vision Radio where there is AC. Because I'm telling you, it must be 100 degrees outside there and it's only April. Ah, goodness. if my engineer is listening, I am not seeing the Facebook feed on the screen, so I'm not seeing the comments. I'm seeing it on my phone. And so if you can kindly adjust that, I'll be appreciative of that. All right. So let me say good afternoon to those persons who are present in class. Loretta Clark Queeley is in the house, as did my good friend down there in the USVI, Charles Tyson. And of course, Ingrid Brown is in the house. Albany, I hope you're having this wonderful weather again. Jetty Taylor up there in Chi-Town, good afternoon to you, my brother. Ashburn Liebert and Ivor up there in Florida, good afternoon to you. Orlando, it's raining. Oh, send some this way, please. We need to flush the St. Vincent ash from the atmosphere. It is not bad on Nevis, I must say. We had a little shift in the wind a few days ago, so the wind was coming out the southeast. Normally comes due east to west, but it came out the southeast. And you know, once it comes out the southeast, we're going to get a little bit of it, of the ash. But places like Barbados, of course, having been getting quite a bit of that. And we'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. Let me say good afternoon to Angel Nisbet, who just signed on, and of course my good friend Delicious Nichols Brown down there in St. Thomas. All right. So today, I have to sing my birthday song for two wonderful people. I'm sure there are more persons who are wonderful who are born on the 17th day of April. But today is the birthday of our party leader, president of the party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge. She celebrates her birthday today. And my good friend over there in Long Point, Janet Grell Hall, is celebrating also today. So two very beautiful women of Nevis, powerful ladies of Nevis, who have made their marks on Nevis, are celebrating their birthdays. Their Earth Day is today in April showers. And so we're still waiting for the showers. And so Janet Grell Hall and my good friend and colleague Janice Daniel Hodge, this song in my own way is for you. Kitisha King, don't say nothing. Do not say anything, please. And neither you, Tyson, don't say nothing. And you guys are itching to say something. And Jetty Taylor, Mr. Mouth up there in Chicago, please sing along. Here goes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Oh, Lord. Okay, that's the best I can do. That is the best I can do. I hope nobody vomited. I hope nobody vomited. All right. Okay. Just an update on this morning, actually, the women's arm of the Nevis Reformation Party had a breakfast in Charlestown, a wonderful breakfast. And, I would have, of course, supported in more ways than one. They had asked me to prepare my one-of-a-kind, patent-pending egg dish. And it should remain a trade secret how I do it. And so I oblige, of course, anything for the NRP women who are the backbone of this party. And of course, on the Nevisian society as a whole, they carry the weight of this country on their shoulders, on their backs, in their bellies. And so anytime I get an opportunity to assist our women make their mark, of course, I always willing to assist. And so this morning, my hat is off to them. They had a wonderful spread this morning. I remember, I got the egg, of course, the liver. Breakfast, I love liver in the mornings. And so I had the liver, and they had saltfish, they had pancakes, Johnny cakes, of course. They had sausages and, of course, my lovely eggs. And they had also boiled eggs for persons who, you know, don't like good stuff. And they had a lovely fruit salad and some slices of watermelon. So it was really well done. I had the tamarind drink, you know, but they had also fruit punch and something else. But I just had, you know, of course, I'm going to go for the tamarind every time. Full of vitamin C, good antioxidant. So I would have had the tamarind. And the breakfast was good. I mean, they had a lot of participation. A lot of women came out, brought their dishes, and people, I got there at 6 to bring my supplies, and I got back at 6:30 to pick up my breakfast, and it was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. It still can't compare to St. Paul's, of course. I mean, St. Paul's still holds in my view, without any equivocation, any bias, that St. Paul's constituency breakfast is still number one. You know, when I got home and opened the breakfast, of course my egg was in mine, and it was it was a sliver of egg. Oh, geez. Normally in St. Paul's, I do the cutting of the egg trays, you know, and you get a nice slab. But this one, I don't know. It was a sliver. So, but it was good. I mean, I enjoyed my breakfast. I really enjoyed my breakfast. And then, of course, I would have gone down to Penny's. After I left the breakfast, I would have gone to Penny's and went by my good friend Florence Byron down there and picked up my black pudding. I mean, so I had a wonderful breakfast. I don't think I need lunch, you know, into the afternoon. We call it the black pudding. I mean, it was more spicy than normal, and I like it spicy, so it was really good. And I always check Facebook for one thing only on a Friday evening, to see whether my good friend Florence Byron is going to have her black pudding, because she advertises her black pudding. You know, the funny thing is, I got there just about 6:15 this morning, and she said to me, "Mr. Daly, you are too early. You have to come back. I fell asleep early in the morning. I saw you're not ready yet." I was like, "Oh God, okay, I'll come back." And so I went back, and she had it nicely packed out for me. And it was, of course, I mean, I love black pudding since I was a kid. It's one of those comfort foods for me. And I buy enough to keep in my fridge to last me a couple of days. I'm not certain. It never works. I always finish it before I really want to. But you take one bite, and you know, it is the only food I know that has a control of me. I don't have a control of it. I can have cake in my fridge. I can have beer in my fridge. I can have soda in my fridge, drink in my fridge. It doesn't bother me. You put black pudding in my fridge, I'm a pig. Lord have mercy, forgive me. I don't know what's wrong with me when it comes to black pudding. Oi. Anyhow, let me say good afternoon to my favorite sister-in-law up there in New York City, Sindrine Twiller Daly, and my brother Daly, of course, in New York City, and my brother Hugh in St. Croix, my nephew Nemo are always listening, and Teresa Brown Paris. She has become a regular listener, and I do appreciate it, Teresa, and I do hope you enjoyed today's show also. Loretta says she's on her way to get her breadfruit. Breadfruit, you said? Bread. Oh, bread and goat water. You're not sure for me, Daily. I ain't trying to show off any you. You need. Hey. Oi. Terrence Brown. Good afternoon to you, my family. I am going to stop because some people are getting antsy that I'm showing off with my black pudding and lovely women's arm breakfast. But it's a real thing. Next week, Saturday, the 24th, I believe it is, the NRP St. Paul's branch will be having their second breakfast of the year. And so the punishment continues next week Saturday on this show for those persons who who like punishment. Woo! Oh Lord. So anyway, so that is the breakfast. And next week Saturday again is our turn in St. Paul's, and we're gonna show you, we're gonna show the rest of them how to do it as usual. We do it and others follow. And of course, my eggs will be back on display again. My good friend Sindrine Willett from up in Hamilton, she said, I always say bring the eggs. I never tasted it until last week, and I want you to do some for the women's breakfast. And I said, without a doubt, that's no problem. She said, I always say I'm going to try it. And this time I tried it, and she's hooked on my eggs. If you can impress Sindrine Willett, if you know Sindrine Willett, you can impress her with food, you got a good product. Or just maybe she just put in my leg and say, just want to make sure I can do the eggs. Whichever way, it is good. All right. Okay. Yes, Jetty, Miss Flurry down there in Lost Street. She used to make some wonderful pudding, black pudding. You go to the abattoir on Fridays, you get your supplies, you make a pudding early Saturday morning, and then you go down there in the afternoon into the evening, you buy a black pudding. What we used to do as kids, here's the trick, Jetty. This is what we used to do. My brother Denny, myself, my brother Steve, Dave, Compost, all of us used to be ganging up down there by Miss Flurry on a Saturday night, or up by Miss Gatta up Prince William Street. And what we used to do, we waited, everybody bought the good ones, and then when the night is over, there's a lot of stuff, busted pieces, left in the bottom of the pan. And we used to get all the money together and buy the pan, the entire pan, the bucket. We used to buy the entire bucket of leftovers. And everybody is dipping in with their hands. And oh my God, that was the best part. I mean, dipping into that pan with all the pieces, and oh, it was wonderful. Those are good days. Those are good days. I'm telling you. I think that's what make me so strong. My back's so broad. All in black pudding me don't eat. Oh Lord. Oi. Sandra Willett, that's Sindrine. Oh my God, my sister-in-law is bashing me over the head. She wants to be the only Sindrine. Okay, my dear. My humblest apologies. All right, Kitchen King, Dr. Daly, I will not say anything about your singing because Monday is my birthday, so I'll accept the greeting in advance. Oh, God. Why couldn't you tell me this? Why couldn't you have told me this? No, I have to go sing again. Lord. Okay. No, but you are a loyal listener, and so I have no difficulty, my brother, singing again to you, just for you. But if anybody out there having a birthday between now and next week Thursday, call now or hold forever, hold your peace. All right? Because I ain't gonna sing again. I'm doing this for Kitchen King because he's a good friend. So Kitchen King, this is specifically for you, not for Janice, not for anybody else. This is just for you. All right? So you can sing along with me. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. On Monday, Kitchen King celebrates his Earth Day. And may God continue to bless you, my brother. Keep you safe from all harm, all evil. And be good. All right. Good. That's out the way. And it was a pleasure singing for both of you. Three of you. It was a pleasure. All right. Now, as an update, the Sophia volcano episode continues. They haven't had a really serious eruption for the last 12 hours. But in the last 24 hours, they've had some serious eruptions, followed by what you call pyroclastic flows, which is a massive jet, powerful blast of ash, hot gases, and sulfur dioxide that races down the mountain flank and scorches everything in its path. And so that's the same thing that happened in Montserrat. They're having its pyroclastic flows now in St. Vincent. And those forces are what is really causing much of the destruction. There hasn't been any significant lava flow as we expected, but the pyroclastic flows have been devastating to that northern end of the country where the volcano is erupting. Now, we on Nevis have been doing our part in making sure that our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent are looked after, and we have been shipping out and collecting and shipping out copious quantities of water, bottled drinks, dry food, canned foods to St. Vincent. And so I do hope the authorities there have the situation under control to make sure that what is being sent is not being squandered in any way or form. Now, I've gotten at least one report here in Nevis of scammers who are asking persons to donate money towards the effort. Be very, very cautious. It's always heartbreaking to hear that in these times of trial and tribulation and such loss, that persons see fit without conscience to be trying to scam good-willed persons, good-intentioned persons out of money to send to St. Vincent, ostensibly to send to St. Vincent. And I know of at least one case here on Nevis. And so if you're on Nevis or you are away and wish to support the effort, give to renowned benevolent organizations, the Red Cross, the Red Crescent, if you're in Saudi Arabia, I guess, whatever organized benevolent organization. Individuals, be very cautious unless they're family. Don't get caught up in scams. These events always bring out the worst in people and the best in people. We have seen the best here on Nevis, where persons have been donating copious quantities of supplies for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All right. Now the ash, the sulfur, the powerful eruptions continue, like I said, and the sulfur dioxide gas has now, of course, transited across the Atlantic. We get Atlantic hurricanes building up off the African coast, and they come to us. Well, we are sending back something. I don't mean to laugh, but we are sending back something their way. Right? We are sending back copious quantities of ash and sulfur dioxide, which, when mixed with rainwater, produces acid rain. In this case, sulfuric acid, H2SO4, for those of you who did chemistry. And the sulfuric acid, of course, has the potential, and I remain has the potential to change the pH of soil and, of course, of water on the ground. The last measurement I heard about the amount of sulfur dioxide that has been emitted is about 809 tons per day. That is tons with a capital T. That is about how much sulfur dioxide gas is belching out of La Sofria volcano there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so people in India, people in the Middle East, and people in Africa are now feeling the effects of the Sofria volcanic eruption there on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so while we get your hurricanes, we are sending back some ash as a thank you note from from St. Vincent. The people in St. Vincent, of course, remain in our prayers, and prayer alone cannot help, and that is why the generosity of all is expected to help. Persons on St. Vincent have also indicated their unwillingness to migrate from St. Vincent. Therefore, the 2 cruise ships that came to take people away have been sent packing. Persons are preferring to shelter on island and to make sure they can safeguard their properties. I saw a video this morning of 2 gentlemen who are still in the red zone, who are refusing to evacuate. They were being interviewed by a police officer, and they gave their reasons why they should not and they will not evacuate. They are saying that they have their livestock to protect and their belongings to protect. Okay. I don't know what these legs are going to eat because everything is covered in ash. But they must know their maths. They must know their maths. One guy said he wanted to experience firsthand what the eruption feel like. Okay. I see many people who wanted to see what hurricanes feel like in Louisiana and in Florida, and they never made it out. I hope these two gentlemen have their exit plan and the exit strategy carefully mapped out, because the police had advised them they're not coming back inside here to get anybody. And so their faith is in their own hands. I wish them well. Okay? I wish them well. All right. Okay. Yeah. So now it's time for the COVID update. Every week I give you a COVID update. And so here it is. So as of Friday the 16th of this month, there was a total of 11,451 persons who have taken the jab. 11,451 persons. Last week, it was 10,391. So there's just about a 3% increase over last week. So you're still really toggling along. You're not really exploding along. You're toggling along. At this rate, you're not going to be getting to herd immunity, of which is said to be 70%, until perhaps the end of the year, January or so. So whatever plans the government might have had to open in October, to fully open and relax, I don't think at this rate that target would be met. On Nevis, you had 2,862 persons vaccinated. Last week, it was 2,582. So there's a slight increase on Nevis. Last week, so, 280 persons in the last 7 days on Nevis got the job. And 780 on St. Kitts. St. Kitts saw a decrease, and Nevis saw a slight increase. So they're going back and forth. Nevis is still behind in terms of per capita vaccinated, behind St. Kitts. But the rate at which we're going leaves a lot to be desired. We are not approaching the critical marks anytime soon, and so the emphasis is on getting the people to get the jab. And as persons are being encouraged to get the jab, of course, you are aware of the fact that more and more negative data is emerging from the Johnson & Johnson and the AstraZeneca. More and more negative data results are coming back about persons who are developing blood clots, persons who are still catching the virus even after fully being vaccinated. And so there's still other unknowns as how this is happening. And now you've heard that the Pfizer-BioNTech, you may need booster shots at least 6 months down the road after you've been fully vaccinated twice. So it's a work in progress, and a lot of uncertainty. Some people believe actually that this COVID-19 will be with us just like the flu. Every year you have to take a flu vaccine if you want to be vaccinated against the flu. So that is the thinking. We'll never get rid of it, like we hope. It'll be seasonal, come back in the fall, go away in the spring and summer. So if that's the case, then all this effort may be for naught, which I hate to believe. All right. Now, I saw a post on Facebook showing the numbers of persons side and side with the persons who have been vaccinated. And it was a clever, and we spoke about it last week, about the involvement of political parties to get their persons who voted for them onto the bandwagon to get persons vaccinated. So the statistics I'm seeing that I saw on Facebook would have indicated that the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party garnered 10,316 votes in the last federal election. The PAM party garnered 8,067. The PLP, 3,681. CCM, 3,510. NRP, 2,232. And Independent, 11. For a total of 27,817 persons voted in the last election. Of course, the turnout was very, very low. On Nevis, it was also about 43%. So these figures, of course, can be modified up if more persons had chosen to vote. This is nowhere near the number of persons who are registered to vote. And so in St. John's alone, we have over 4,000, close to 5,000 persons registered, but you see only 3,000. Total between NRP and CCM, only about 5,700 persons voted. So, persons still not coming out to vote in numbers. But the point is, and the point that the person on Facebook was trying to make, if you have 27,817 persons who voted in the last election, and these are all on island because there was no flights coming in for persons to vote, these people are still here. For the most part, they're still here. So the question, of course, has to be asked. If you could have motivated 27,000 persons to go to the polls, persons who believe that your message was the right message, persons who believe that your governance will be the right governance, why is it we can't mirror this, bring out the vote activity to bring out the vaccine activity? Why is it we're still struggling at just about 11,000 persons who would have voted, who would have gotten the job so far? Even with the threats from employers, I see Rams have softened a bit their stand, not on paper, but in action. They put out a picture yesterday of one of the Indian managers, I believe, or owner, I didn't know who he was, surrounded by a group of workers, and somebody said they all look frightened. Well, if your job is on the line, you might you may look just as frightened as these wonderful people. But even with Rams bringing on board their persons to get vaccinated, and even when you're seeing threats coming from Contech, which is one of the largest concrete operators on St. Kitts, they've said unequivocally that you have a choice. If you do not show your vaccination card, then every 3 weeks you have to be immunized. You have to get a test, the COVID test every 3 weeks, which can run you $150 US per test. And so when you're on minimum wage or just above minimum wage, these are not choices. People say, they have a choice. These are not choices. These are unconscionable conditions put on people to say, listen, vaccinate or else. Vaccinate or else. How is a father struggling in the economy with a kid or two to feed on minimum wage asked to take up $500 every 3 weeks to pay for a test when there's no community spread, right? There's no hospitalization. There's no record of anybody with a disease. How is this legal and constitutional? Again, we come back to the same argument. Are these choices? People are saying, yes, there's a choice because you can quit or you can take the job. And on very premier, you're hearing on Thursday and Wednesday evening when a caller from St. Kitts asked the question about the government's position and the data out there that's showing increasing frequency of countries are putting a hold on the AstraZeneca, rolling back the AstraZeneca, and the increasing data whether it's directly linked or indirectly linked to blood clots. He in a nutshell, what he said, we have to open. And when you are on this path, you expect, therefore, that there will be casualties. I'm not quoting him, I'm paraphrasing. All right? There will be persons who will not survive. But it's for the greater good. It's for, do this for the country. That is all well and good. That is all well and good. Once is not you. I heard the PS of tourism, Mrs. Morton, offer the most ridiculous analogy ever in my life I've heard. And if you haven't heard it, I wish I had it on tape, because you need to understand the fullness of this idiotic analogy he made. Basically saying that if you have a donkey, now we have way past the donkey era, but if you have a donkey and the donkey falls in a ditch on a Saturday, and you are Sabbath, and if you're Sabbath, you're not supposed to do any work on a Sabbath, and your Sabbath, you're simply supposed to pray. That's it. Pray and fast. And her analogy is, if your donkey falls into a ditch on a Saturday, you have a choice. You either go out and get the donkey out the ditch on your Sabbath and break the Sabbath, or you let the donkey die in the ditch. What the hell was that? I don't even know what linkage there is. But this is the PS. This is a woman who led protest after protest when Dr. Douglas was in government on St. Kitts with the Basti High School. And she's coming to you now and saying about donkey story? Come on, man. Come on. This is beneath. You understand? But it is what it is. But it comes back to what we have been saying on this radio program. It comes back to what Henry Daniel had proposed 3 Saturdays ago. That if the political parties were to get fully engaged, fully involved, fully committed, the same persons who they went to get the vote could be invited back, could be brought part of a program to get them vaccinated. And to me, that's a better approach than the model that the government has laid out of punishing people, that the private sector is now imaging or mirroring. And you're seeing every day a new organization comes forward to tell the workers, vaccinate or else. Strangely enough, not a single one of them has ever said in unequivocal terms what the or else is in terms of punishment, except for contact, which says you have to be tested every 3 weeks at your cost. But Rams put in a statement, they never followed up with what specifically they're going to punish the workers with. TDC did the same thing. Hosford had a carrot offer. They're saying $50 voucher or something like that if you get vaccinated, which I think was a better approach. The government, with its vast resources, according to the Prime Minister, surplus after surplus after surplus, you'd have thought would have seen fit to incentivize the vaccination program along with the public outreach and make it work, right? No. I see no evidence of incentivizing. China is incentivizing. They're giving everybody who gets vaccinated a hamburger of your choice. The Israelis are giving beer and pizza. We can't give KFC, for Christ's sakes. Everybody in the US love KFC. When I go to St. Kitts, I don't even tell people I'm going to St. Kitts, because the first thing I say, bring back KFC, please. And I ain't doing it. Not me. I ain't doing it. Don't ask me. If you tell me bring back some fruit, a melon, or something I see on the side of the road, I'll do that. But me ain't going in a line to buy no poisoned KFC chicken. But people love it. People like it. And I ain't doing it. Okay? All right. Um, let me say good afternoon to my brother who just came into the studio here. Hensley, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Carolyn. Good afternoon to the. You heard me? Okay. Good afternoon and good afternoon to the viewing and listening public. After every, after every week, after every week, we we expect some growth in terms of our sharing of the ideas. So, when we come, we put out some ideas and we want to make sure that people are growing. I am very concerned, about political literacy. I want the people of the country to learn what is government, what government's responsibilities are. Because you see, if you don't know what government's responsibilities are, when we say hold them accountable and hold them responsible, you don't know why you don't know what to hold them responsible for. And I really am saying this in the context of I saw some comments from the Premier where he says that he's busy, he's doing something, but wait till when we see how barley grow. And I am saying to him, no, it's not barley we want to grow, it's the economy we want to grow. We want to be how barley grow is an expression we use, which is really saying you're going to see how I get on bad and you're going to see how I deal with the opposition and so on. No, when the Premier comes to the country or speaks to the country or interacts with the country in whatever limited ways he does, he must tell us how the economy grows. So, Kel, you are an agriculturist. We grow barley down here, sir?
No,
Barley is
more temperate crop, yeah.
Yes, connected with wheat and so. So I don't want to hear how barley grow. I want to hear how watermelons grow. I want to hear how sweet potato grow, yam, oranges, and things I could throw in the pot. Um, all the carrots and cabbage and so on and so on. So when the Premier says we're going to see how barley grow, I was listening out to hear him list his new accomplishments. That is what he shows. That's how you show how barley grow. Show what programs you have introduced to help the citizens of the country in an environment.
Well, how many times, Hensley, have you heard this nonsensical statement about we're going to see what he can do? Elect me, and you're going to see what I can do. Let them keep pushing me in sink it, and you're going to see how I get on bad. I mean, get on bad with what?
Over what? The only
Get on bad with what? Come on now.
Only way to get on bad as when you're in government, kid.
It's to perform.
It's to perform.
Perform. That's all the metric you need.
That's all.
Get on bad on doing the people's work.
Exactly.
You've been paid to do the people's work. Get on bad on that.
Exactly.
But now he go and sink his lineman for the weekend, running from Nevis. Every time pressure get to him in Nevis, he runs to sink it and say, sexy sink it, here I come for the weekend. Listen.
I mean, this is a lot of foolishness.
It is rubbish.
The people of the country, that is why I'm making the connection with the political literacy. You want your citizens, and this is what we are helping to do here every week, to become aware. If you are the Minister of Education, what should we be seeing? We should be seeing more children entering the first streams of the high school. We should be seeing a reduction in the dropout rate, meaning children should be leaving school with more subjects. So when we speak, we want the citizens to be aware of that. When you speak to agriculture, which is in your area, you want to say that in 2013, when we demitted office, say 2012, because it was January, since 2012 to 2021, has there been an increase in food production in Nevis? What foods? What are the challenges? That's what we want to hear. And for the life of me, the fact that the citizens are not doing this, you hear what he says? He says he's been the Premier for He's been in charge of CCM for just over 3 years, and since he had done 2 elections, he won 80% of the seats in one, and he won 100% of the seats. Yes, but here is somebody boasting about winning elections while the country is going to hell. So you win. So it is only about winning the elections. And that's why we want the citizens scale to have that kind of interest. Agriculture. Is it easier for me to become a farmer? Is it more difficult? What are the incentives I have? Have they been increased and so on? And I believe that we must be, no matter what anybody tells me, it is performance that matters. And so when you hear the premier say we're going to see how Bali grow, I listening to hear how the economy is going to grow. That's his
But
responsibility.
how can he go down that path when there's I'm going to get to that because Lindsey Grant made a very prophetic statement recently, 2 days ago, in an interview, and so we'll get to that. All right. The document I have that was prepared for me by my good doctor friend has indicated some very important things, and I wish to share them with you. All right. Now, getting back to the vaccination issue, we all know that the government, the target is 66,000 vaccines to cover the 33,000 persons who have been calculated to be needing the vaccine. All right. At the current rate, it's about 1,400 a week between St. Kitts and Nevis. You're going to take until mid-January 2022 to get completed, get the exercise completed. So any other conversation about October, November, and even December, at the rate we are going, we're not going to get there. All right? And as I indicated to you, the best response to this vaccine hesitancy are good governance, being honest and out front with people, communicating ahead of the curve, being proactive when negative press comes out about any of the vaccines, especially the one we are using, and we're only using one, AstraZeneca. There has seemed to be no attempt whatsoever to get a different vaccine on board so people can feel more comforted that the one they're taking will not be causing them any danger will be causing no danger to their lives. And we've said all along, we need an all of society approach. Get all hands on deck. Civil organizations, public organizations, get everybody on board. And to their credit, the NIA, well, not the NIA, Dr. Judy Nisbet, I saw on a notice that the Charlestown Methodist Church will be hosting her during the regular service on Sunday to bring the news about the COVID vaccination program to the church members. These are things that should have been done in the rollout. We keep saying it. They let the horse out the gate and then close the gate. All right? We were saying all along the rollout sucked. It stunk. And the person in charge of that rollout, Dr. Cameron Wilkinson, his butt need to be in a sling. He need to be out of there. Now, Dr. Nisbet, who actually is more qualified to lead the COVID task force, as Dr. Brown from Nevis, also the wife of our good friend over there in St. James, those are more qualified to lead the task force than Cameron Wilkinson. He wants to be a politician doctor. We don't need that. We need dedicated doctors who know about diseases, especially communicable diseases like these. Cameron Wilkinson is a good surgeon, but he has no training in this area of communicable diseases. But because he has political aspirations, because the Prime Minister has vested all of this time and effort into him, he has mucked up the rollout, and he needs to be sent off packing. Bring Dr. Judy Nisbet in there. Bring Dr. Brown inside there. They are more qualified to lead this fight and get the work done. All right? That is my view. I hold to that view, and every week I come here until I get rid of Wilkinson. I don't keep saying it. He needs to go. You understand? And so Dr. Nisbet will be at the Charleston Methodist Church service on Sunday. And those of you who have questions, even if you're Anglican or Catholic, and you want to have a first-hand interaction with Dr. Judy Nisbet, you can simply, of course, it's one God we worship. It doesn't matter if you're Catholic or Anglican or whatever. Go to the Charleston Methodist Church. The service starts at 9, and you can be educated as to whatever issue you have pertaining to the vaccine. We also need to have like multiple vaccines. Now, the Cuban vaccine trial is in its 3rd stage. I'm not certain when that will be ready, but we have so many other vaccines out there. People must be able to give them a choice. The Prime Minister would have indicated he had earmarked $800,000 already to get that vaccine program up and running. He has since backtracked a bit to saying it was 3/4 of 800,000, but still a lot of money. The Taiwanese would have committed $600,000 US. You know, so the money should not be the issue. So give people a chance, a choice, as I have any other countries where people have a difficulty with AstraZeneca. It should not be forced down our throats when other sources or other types are available. All right, so multiple vaccines, I believe, will accelerate the hesitancy, the hesitancy from occurring. So, you know, the effective communication, Dr. Nisbet, again, will be in church on Sunday, and I'm certain this wouldn't be her first or last. And this is the kind of things that would have aided in reducing the anxiety, the tension in this rollout or lack thereof, but rollout. All right? One more thing that needs to be done. We have been communicated too that there is no evidence of community spread. There is no hospitalizations. We have not lost a single soul, thank God, that we know of. There was some shivering early in the year that some deaths were suspicious, that there were an autopsy to prove or disprove whether COVID had a hand in the deaths, you know, but there's an undercurrent that the government was hiding something regarding those deaths that occurred. That is, well, that's all, they done that, there's water under the bridge. But going forward, of course, we need to continue the safe distancing, the protocols, because as Dr. Laws said in an interview day before yesterday, the reason why persons who are being vaccinated, fully vaccinated, still have to quarantine when they arrive on St. Kitts and Nevis, because they found an incident where somebody had that profile of being vaccinated, and when they were tested before release on the 14th day, they were positive for COVID. And so if they had released that person, or if that person was allowed to mix and mingle straight off the plane, just waving their COVID passport, we might have had a different outcome. And so until we fully understand or can be reassured by the data that transmission, even after vaccination, is no longer an issue, we have to continue along that route. Now, I am still waiting to hear from the government, Hensley. What happens when if we do not get to herd immunity of 70%, what then is plan B? Because clearly, the government might have the upper hand in forcing employees in the public service or even private service, persons who are employed in the private service. Employers may have the upper hand in forcing the issue of vaccination. But that still leaves a lot of persons out there who do not fit any of those profiles of being public service or private service. People like myself who are retired. You're going to force me? How are you going to force me? How are you going to force me? So if people like me say no, and other persons who are dead set against any vaccine altogether say no, you cannot get to herd immunity of 70%. You cannot get there. What then is plan B? We are not hearing from Brantley. We are not hearing from the Prime Minister. We are not hearing from any of the political directorate. What is plan B? Do you have a knowledge of plan B?
Kel, I'm in the opposition like you. In these parts, the opposition is proscribed, So the truth is that we must as a society treat people in a particular way. I keep saying, Kel, that every human being has an invisible sign around his neck marked, make me feel appreciated. Don't make me feel like I'm stupid. Don't make me feel like I'm just some, how the slaves were treated. And I 300 years, how many years after slavery? 200 years
400 years.
after slavery, I still see the tempo in leadership to dismiss people and to say, well, look, this is how it is going to go. Moral suasion always wins the day. People do not live by averages, but by their private visions of reality. So if a man believes that he can trust you, and you have on your team people who have built up trust over the years, you're good to go. And I do not believe that I do not believe that trust is impossible. I believe that there are enough people in our society, good people, who have been doing good work in health, as I've said before, and they must lead the effort. But I don't know what is so difficult about getting all the politicians together. This is your area, this is your district. Let's go with our public health and community people, and let's talk to people. What's wrong with that? Make the people feel one-on-one with you, and that is what we call in community development, buy-in. Don't say to me from a platform, hey, look, if you don't. No, those things don't work. This is still, even though it's under pressure, this is still a democracy, It is still a democracy, and we must guard it, because I get the sense that many sections of the society, the civic organizations, the community organizations, the private sector organization, the trade and industry people, they have let down their guard, and they are now assuming. I'm a politician, The best thing you can do for politicians, let them believe, is to let them believe, man, you have all the answers, man, everything you say go. They're not the kind of people, once you give them that total control, they're not coming back here. They're doing other
But
things.
you must admit, Hansley, that we as a society, we as a people, we have put those politicians on such pedestals
But that's what I'm
of
saying.
power
I'm telling you.
that they feel invincible. They don't have to account to anybody. We are their children. We are their kids.
Exactly.
And whatever they say now goes. They become masters of the universe. All of a sudden, they become masters of us. Because guess what? We are the ones who give them that power. Every little thing. We don't go to the directors of departments. We don't go to the permanent secretaries of ministries.
No.
We go straight to the minister. Right? We know where they live. We can stuck them in the road and tell them their problem. We this and this and this and that. We have imparted unto them control of our very existence.
No, imparted is not the word. We have surrendered.
Surrendered it. You understand?
Surrender.
And every time now a situation comes up, we want to pull back a little bit of it and say, no, not so fast. We have thrown it at their feet.
But you see, you remember when the NRP started in 1970, and even before that, the people of Nevis have a long history of independence. The people of Nevis are landowners. People say to me all the time, the older people, I'm talking to them about politics, they say, look, Daniel, I know your parents. I know where they used to work. As long as the Lord send rain tomorrow, I am going to the mountain. Which was telling me, up to recently in our politics, they're not depending on anybody to look after them and their children. Men go to mountain early morning, 5, 6 o'clock, and come back 7 o'clock in the evening. Their wives look after the children and carry the produce to sell. Some of the men, you hardly ever see them. They will go to church or maybe hang around occasionally by the bar. But men, our history is one where politics,
But I do appreciate deeply, because our parents, our forefathers lived like that. You know, these are hard-working, independent thinking people.
But
But
why would we mortgage that now?
but the fact remains now we are in a different arena now. Our young people are not connected to much of anything calling a tradition of self-sufficiency or independence, because we have allowed ourselves to become so corrupted that everything is a handout, everything is a beg, everything you owe me, you know. And this is what we have to work with now as politicians. Well, you have to work because I'm not a politician, but this is what we have to work with now, where the society has upended itself from independency to dependency, and that dependency is deepened further by a government who is not leading the way in any way, shape, or form to make us less dependent on Sinkids. Matter of fact, we have gone further into the bosom of Sinkids, paying our public servants without the welfare check from Sinkids every month. We can't pay our way. When in our history has Nivisions or Nevis been dependent
Never.
on welfare from Sinkids?
Never.
Never.
But you know what is bad here?
But since 2013, and especially since 2015, we have gone down this rabbit hole of dependency, where to this very day, the words of the Premier had said, this development on Sinkids mean development on Nevis.
Foolishness.
And people, having heard that, people who now realize the depth at which we have gone backwards in dependency, still are willing to look the other way and say, you know what, I'll give him another try. How many more chances, people? How many more chances does one man need? I mean, a cat has 9 lives, they say. He don't pass 9.
No. Well, here
Because he been in government since 2007. This is his 13th year. And he has not produced anything. He don't use up all the 9 lives. But you want more than anybody else?
well, you know, Kel, they say the only mark that brings something from Sinkids is Mark Twain, you know? That's the only mark.
Not only from Sinkids, so anyway.
The only mark. And then you talk about dependency. See the worst part of it, Kel. You said you grew up next to the library, which is your family home. You used to see the men and women of the NRP meeting in the back.
Of course, in the back
of
upstairs.
the library.
Yeah.
That is when they had a local council. And they used to be up there arguing about, oh, we don't want no $50,000, we want some more money. No, under CCM, the Nevis Island administration has gone back to become and look like a local council. I mean, this is a tragedy. And the Nivisions are sitting there and watching.
And watch it happen.
And watch it happen.
And not only watch it, participating in it.
Facilitating it.
Of course.
And here is what happened. Look at some realities with us. We got to government with PAM in 1980. In February 1980, okay? You and I left 5th Farm, we couldn't go 6th Farm. By September of 1980, we put a 6th Farm in Nevis. 8 months, 8 months after. By 1983, we bring back the government to Nevis to say, look, we want to run our own things, recognizing many of our brothers and sisters who perished on the Christina went down there for some basic things. And so we want to stop that. So we start. Dr. Simeon Daniel is in a government with Dr. Simmons. In 1989, the Four Seasons Resort starts in Nevis, the first international brand ever in the Federation, while we in government with them, but we only wanted a little piece of, we only wanted to be in government, because we knew by 1984, independence in 83, 84, same time we established the Nevis Island Administration, 84, the Nevis Financial Services sector, which established the offshore sector. Up to this day, it still brings in a sizable amount of, it accounts for a sizable chunk of our economy.
About $14 million.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we established the same year the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation and had the greatest land reform program in the OECS. Nobody come close to that. All I'm saying, Kel, is that...
Brought the Bank of Nevis shortly after that.
The Bank of Nevis in 1985, the Four Seasons. Then in 1992, we took up No, 89. We sent the teachers who had gone and done teacher training connected to the University of Miami, so that by 92 they were getting full-fledged university degrees with the connection. The point I'm making is that here was the stage being set for further independence. The people of Nevis start a rumor mill about Sim Daniel, say he this, he that, he yada yada. None of it was true. When we won the government in 2006, in about a week, we went to see him. You know what he said to us? He says, fellas, run a clean ship. Always run a clean ship. When, after I lost in 92, the CCM, you know, that CCM, that corrupt CCM that you have a long list of things. If we were to count them, we would be here till next week. The CCM brought an accounting firm. He told us that. A large accounting firm to Nevis to audit it. He said, look, fellas, they find nothing. See me here standing up. Then he says to us, focus on training, continue to train the people, and send public servants away to learn how to manage the public system. All I'm saying is, here are the divisions now, giving Vance and CCM the chance to roll us back 40 years, and what's happening? You really believe Nevis people like to know that they have to wait till the check come from Bastille? That's why we were talking about secession. That's why we were talking about secession, because we don't want it. We don't want no dependency on anybody. Foolishness.
The danger of this check, right, is that it's held like a sword of Damocles.
No, it's binding.
Over your
Head.
Head.
It's binding.
When a man holds your paycheck in his hand every month, he can demand anything from you. He can subjugate you at any time, anywhere. And this is what the whole movement of Nivisian independence was all about.
Of course.
Right?
To free ourselves.
To free ourselves from that dependency. You see, a lot of young people who are not born at the time when we were fully under the control of St. Kitts, before independence, our water system was crap.
But we had no water.
You had no water.
I live at Cox. I used to go.
We used to head water.
Come on, the whole of Nevis.
People who were born after '83 would appreciate the fact that we had water running in the pipes. Yeah. We had new wells on NRP. We had
electric and light.
Electricity. We
say electric and light, Kel, because sometimes you have electric but no light.
That's the thing.
We had electric and light, water and pipe. Because sometimes you have pipe and no water.
No water in it.
Electric and light. NRP brought you electric and light, water and pipe. The tragedy is, Kel, you talk about the young people. You know, our generation is responsible for this. Because some of us don't like NRP or don't like some of the people. We don't tell our children anything. So the children are going to sixth form.
Not knowing.
150 of them not knowing that in 1965, it's 3 people went to sixth form from Nevis. Vance, Parry, and Parry's late wife, Roslyn. Those were the 3 people.
3.
1, 2, 3 who went to sixth form in 1965. But by 1980, a group of 30 students, 15 years later, and 6 months after coming to government, 30 people could be in the sixth form. And since that, hundreds. Because by any stretch of the imagination now, you have more about 130, 140, somewhere there. But on average, 70, 80 people. The people who just go into the sixth form, nobody tells them, boy, there was a time when you had to go to sixth form. Ask Dr. Glenville, but he was living.
He had to St. Kitts?
No, not just St. Kitts. He was living in Saddlers. So count from Hermitage to Saddlers. And my wife used to live in Sandy Point. So count. You have to come to town first. Then you have to go to Bastille. And Bastille to Sandy Point to get an education. And when you come talking foolishness about, you get on the platform and say education not important. Just love your country. And the people jump up and say, yeah, it's true. I mean, what foolishness is this?
When you keep people ignorant, then you can always expect this kind of behavior.
But I don't want to do that, Kel. I say as a politician, I owe the people I represent one thing.
I think, though, in all respects, I believe NRP also made a mistake in not adjusting our curricula especially at the sixth form level, to reflect the new dispensation. We allow the same institutional bullcrap to continue, where our history has been, I should say, diverted into non-history, because the foundation of the country, the foundation stones were laid by the Nevis Reformation Party.
Well,
You look at all the institutions you rattled off, from public service in terms of reform of the public service, enhancement of the public service through training, through institutional strengthening, to the private sector, bringing in jobs, reforming our utilities or infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
These all foundational matters were set alight by NRP and dismembered and dismantled under this concerned citizens movement from 1992 onward. They have not seen fit to really inculcate into divisions this need, this desire to be fully independent from our umbilical relationship with St. Kitts. We are now further down the rabbit hole with them, and I wish more persons really would sit down with their parents, especially young people. Sit down with their parents and say, Dad, Mom, how was it back in your day? What was the thinking back in your day?
The first school bus came to Nevis in 1973. We were walking to school, to high school. I was walking to high school from Cox.
I remember Johnny Grant.
Of course.
Used to drive the school bus from Gingerland to
yes,
town.
and it parked it at the police station in Gingerland. And what we did, the bus was to carry people from Brown Hill and Cotton Ground for starters. What we did as students from Gingerland then, me and several others of us, you know what we did? It was leaving up there about 6:45. We got up in the morning, get ready to catch it. So people like Joseph Leibert walked from Zion.
The former commissioner of police.
Yeah, from Zion, Al Kelly, chairman of TDC.
We were all classmates.
Yeah. Stedman
I made a joke.
racist.
I made a joke one time, and I said, Joseph, you remember, you used to sometimes he missed his breakfast, and he would walk with it.
Yeah.
And people think I was being funny or facetious. But I remember Joseph Leibert, the former commissioner of police, retired commissioner of police, used to eat his breakfast right under those neem trees at the same road.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to walk with it.
But he had a joke. The first time in my life, I saw people eating rice and fish for breakfast.
You got to be joking. you know the area.
I was like, it's not even lunchtime yet, Joseph.
But you know what it is? When you go up in the country, they used to have a song, you jam with anything you catch. That was the idea. But the point I was trying to make, Kelly, is that people now have buses which go pick them up, or your mother can pay for you. But we were walking, and Marjorie Leibert, Pamela Williams, all of us.
From country.
From Hickman's, from Rice's, Stedman Trash from Rice's, I from Cox. We walk up to the road in time for 6:45. So
6:45.
Boy, so that when the bus passed, you could get a ride into town. And when we went into school now, about after 7, we could finish up homework. We gone to play cricket and so on. And then in the afternoon now, we, as Sazam would say, we coop to get another ride back over the bus.
You might get a bus, you might get hops in the catch your fast beach road.
No, boy, I'm saying.
And the truck.
We walk to school. So when you have a society which just assume that things just happen,
It didn't happen, brother.
and that I blame the parents.
We lived through it.
I believe you mentioned that NRP didn't do it. I believe part of our history is that we not really, we think that we are doing the thing for the people, so we don't really want to rub it in too much.
No.
But it's a mistake.
It's
I
a
must fully
mistake.
agree.
That was a
Because
mistake.
that marketing thing, and you know who the man was leading the sixth farm effort? Ivor Stevens here. While Mr. Daniel was in charge of education, Ivor Stevens was saying, he's the communications minister. Look, send the men up there to fix the water, fix the toilet. Started up by the Army headquarters where the Land and Housing Corporation is. So the things now have evolved. Then teaching the number of subjects, teaching the subjects. I hope people understand.
But how come we have not moved? I mean, I know NRP in its manifesto indicated that they want to
Set up a
fully separate the sixth form from lower school, which makes absolute sense.
You can-
because then you can expand the curricula, because
Right.
teachers who teach law form are married to the curricula at sixth form.
Yes.
So you can't have the plethora of programming
Right.
that you would need. And so
40
really,
years after, it's time to do
it's
it.
time to move. It's time to create a community college. Because when I used to do transcripts during my tenure at Charleston Secondary as deputy principal, overseas universities had a hard time understanding what was a sixth form college.
Exactly.
What is that you're talking about?
Exactly.
So we really wanted to separate it to say, listen, whatever name you want to put on it, if you want to call it the Ferguson Community College, the Daniel Community College, whatever.
No name, no
Or
problem.
no name.
No problem.
But it was important for identification. And if you wanted to move to further along the line of accreditation, it was important to separate it from the law school on a policy level, because then you have to create your own policy manuals to regulate how the college is going to operate,
Right.
because you have to go to international standards.
Right. But, to me, I remember in talking to Perry and talking to Mr. Daniel and Stevens and them about the sixth form. You know what Mr. Perry said? Boy, I taught some of those students who went to sixth form. Kel, some people didn't make it, Going to the sixth form, it was too much pressure. Having to go to St. Kitts, living way in the country in St. Kitts, coming to school in Bastille, and so on. Some people decided, boy, this is too much, so they stopped. And when they saw that some of our brightest and best students couldn't cope with it, that challenge, Barry keeps telling me there were other people in his farm in 1965 who could have gone to sixth farm and who were good, who passed subjects too. But the reality is
Couldn't make it.
You couldn't make it. Can you imagine?
But what is it about growing up? I mean, our class was a bright class. It wasn't exceptional by any stand, because everybody who went to high school in them days strive for the best.
Right.
And when I look back to our classmates, we have done well, but many people were much brighter than us, and they never had the support to go any further.
Or if they didn't pass the exam,
That's it.
That was it. That is why.
And even in boys' school,
Yeah.
there were times they had to take the common entrance.
Yeah, that's what we did. We were the last group to do. That is why, Kel, when I went to university at Mona in Jamaica, I came back after the 3 years and I went down to the university center to see Cons Richardson, who was then the resident tutor. And I said to him, I will be the representative for Nevis, for the UWI in Nevis. You know why? Kel, I saw some people at the university in Jamaica. Man, I saw the fellows who were in grade 6 with me could bang them. So I was of the view that it was a straight case of opportunity.
Yeah.
So I offered, and then so I used to keep the farms and go carry the farms to people in the 5th and 6th farm and so on. For a number of years I did that, and then when Oliver Edgecombe Howell became the resident tutor, we continued and so on to have a presence. Because my fundamental problem was, at Mona that year they had to write an exam in English because students were write English was so bad coming into the university, and I'm saying to myself, but wait, these people here, man, you have so many people we went to school with. Think about all the people who were in grade 6 with you, man. They could have easily gone to university.
Listen,
That is why education for me is a vexing
But this
problem.
is why also that when Division students go abroad, they do so well. Because the foundation is there.
Base is good, man.
And so I always regret that so many persons on Nevis
It is a tragedy.
who did not get the opportunity. I was lucky when my father was in St. Croix. We were able to get green cards to go to the States and to continue. But there were a lot of persons who missed that opportunity. People I know who are brilliant. And we should not be continuing down that line. And when it comes to education, I'm a passionate person. I believe in it. And I tell you, right? And when I look at the numbers, some of the estimates, the yearly estimates, the government estimates,
Foolishness.
when they put out the estimates for the amount of money put aside to support higher education, tertiary level education, not only academic training, but professional skills development, it breaks your heart.
Of course.
Because then the same money has not increased at all. The government puts aside, and these are facts, the government puts aside in their scholarship program $1 million every year to cover the whole gamut of academic and skills training you need for our
Foolishness.
entire country. 1 million out of a budget. If you take the 2019 budget, 276 million and 1 million is for education. If you look at the 2020-2021 budget, 176 million dollars, 234 million, 1 million for education. This covers not only persons who are freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, and if you're lucky, master's level. You cannot. That when you're talking about $200,000 per grade for every university level. You cannot pay that. You cannot believe in this day and age of thinking and knowing the cost of university training to be talking about that paltry amount of money as making any significant dent in the number of trained persons you need to take advantage of the opportunities presented in this country. It cannot happen.
But you know something, Kel, what we were doing in government? We had an idea. I was pushing the view that, one, we must have a university graduate in every house. Because if you put a graduate in every household, it spins off. He inspires others.
Your kids become graduates.
Of course. And then we were saying, let's look at manpower planning. So Carlisle in the Ministry of Communication was looking at the number of technical people, engineers, and so on we would need. In education, Pi was talking about the number of teachers and specialist teachers and so. And we were looking at the people we need to deal with social development as the country is challenged, mental health, for instance. So what we had in our work going was a very good idea of the needs of the country. So that's
human resources needs.
Human resource needs. So that is why when we lay out the money every year, we say, look, we found one of the greatest deficiencies in skills training. That is why we began with the Trinidad program. Now, I want to ask the divisions. We did 2 years of it, Kelly. We did 41 people, I think, something like that. Well, Nevis people, after 2013.
What happened?
What happened? Well, look, multiply 20, we get 40. And in that 40, Kelly, you know of some very outstanding fellows doing work in Nevis. Well, ask the Nevis people for me. Suppose you did put the same 20 per year.
For the last 8 years.
You have 160 more
trained
plumbers, electricians. I mean, what the is going on in Nevis? Eh? Come on.
Let me read something that Glenville Liebert put out. He says, in 1983, no, he said that the 1983 Constitution, negotiated by the NRP led by Simeon Daniel, gives the NIA all the powers to develop in Nevis all institutions for a sustainable economy, independent of St. Kitts. When that job is complete, we will have a true federation. Dr. Liebert, God bless you, but we have gone backwards.
Yeah.
I'm not certain when that job is completed now, unless the people have decided enough is enough, the experiment is over, we are going to change this government and move forward again in this country. Because it is not happening. It is not happening. What we have become right now are self-centered, selfish individuals that while your pocket might be full, you realize the country is moving in the wrong direction, but you continue along the line because your personal wealth is increasing. Your personal satisfaction is increasing. While you see your neighbor sucking salt or your community going down the drain. I mean, we have to think big and better things. We have to think bigger and better, not just our own immediate gratification, but for the whole gratification of the country. Sim Daniel could have said, listen,
not me.
I ain't touching all them things. Them is hard work.
Exactly.
Me ain't gonna bring the bank here. Me ain't gonna bring the 6 round. Me ain't gonna bring the 4 season. Let everybody go down the same path. But when you decide to become a public servant and a good public servant, then you start taking on the development not only of individuals but of the entire country.
Yeah.
And that is a mistake Navisions keep making. When they get this $500 bribe money to a vote, or you get a piece of wall to say, oh, I get a wall, I get a fence, or somebody made my child a little step job or something. Those are individual personal benefits to you, accrue to you. But you know well in your heart of hearts that it is on the backs of other people who are struggling, your community members, who are not getting anywhere, that you're taking this action of supporting the same government year in and year out. And if you were to stop for a moment and examine the record of this government in terms of the true indicators of economic development, the economic standards of development, the waypoints of any government, right? Healthcare, education, job creation, investment, ease of doing business. I mean, all those benchmarks. Put the record of the government you're supporting under the microscope and ask yourself the question, is this good enough for us to be paying them to do? It cannot be right.
But Kel, in relation to what Dr. Leibert says about the Constitution, I had the opportunity to meet with the members of the Tobago House of Assembly, Harvey London and some of Hotchai Charles and those guys. You know what they said to me, Kel? Oh God, boy, I wish we had I wish the Tobago House of Assembly was as powerful as the Nevis Island Assembly. The Nevis Island Assembly, Kel, is nearly the most powerful local government in the world.
I'm telling you.
Tobago wants some of the provisions.
The only ministry that we do not control is national defense.
No,
Everything else is us.
No, and we don't need to do that, because here how you provide for national defense. Once you train your people and you get them working and educated,
People have something to lose.
You ever see a highly educated trained people
Go to jail.
walking up and down with guns? I go down the jail all the time. I don't see nobody down there who with 5 O levels and with skills.
But that's what I keep telling people.
No,
When you visit,
I go down the jail several times to take people from down there and prevent people from going down there, because I see where you get trapped down there, and
you come out worse than you
you
went
come out
in.
worse. And so my position is that I would spend less on national security. You know how you spend money on national security, girl? Pump the money in early childhood education, primary school education,
right.
skills education,
That's right.
and tertiary education, and you see the difference.
Of course.
You see the difference.
I've always said,
This foolishness about line up the police and line up the army, the reason you have them is because you want to keep poor people
Poor.
and keep them under control. So you remember the police force came to the Caribbean after 1865, after the Morant Bay Rebellion in Jamaica. The police force was established to keep the people under control. Mind you, the Morant Bay Rebellion is a rebellion where the people say, no. The economic conditions are bad, so you start a police force. And
I've always said, Hensley, and you've heard me say it more than once, the key to antisocial behavior is education.
I live
Proper education.
I live it.
You know, you either pay up front
You pay on the back
or you
end.
pay in the back. And the back is always more costly, because you have to incarcerate people for donkey years. You got to give them 3 square meals. You got to provide every comfort there is under the law. You know, and even in that regard, we are still failing, because those persons who are going to prison, eventually they get out, and they get out worse than when they went in, because there is no rehabilitation.
No restitution.
No restitution. I mean, it is the way. It's as if we have
punishment.
It's almost as if we have not evolved as a country. Evolution is a constant change. It is slow, but it's constant. And there are some metrics we measure standards of civility and humanity by. And rehabilitation, that's a whole different show by itself. But I think it's important we put it out there.
Yes.
We are so caught up in retribution.
Hold on.
Punishing people that we forget about the fact that these people will, once they emerge from prison, and then what? We get repeat offenders. We get persons who sit on the edge of society looking on, not part and parcel of any growth in communities, because they're being left out of the matrix. We have to really understand that we cannot continue. This is not a sustainable model of development. This model of development is not sustainable. This is why we keep going backwards and backwards and backwards. And unless you have people with vision and who understands what it takes to build communities, what it takes to build societies, what it takes to build neighborhoods, what it takes to build people, then we're going to continue down this dark road and nothing get done. But more heartache, lack of hope, lack of development, and then what?
But you know.
Then what?
You know, Kel, I I spent a number of years in, so I was head of the social services department for a decade. So whenever I would go down to the prison and bring them, let me use the expression we use locally. You know how much water I get? Daniel, Leffy down there, who can't hear feel. These are people who go to church with the biggest Bible on Sundays, you know? And the forgiveness is totally out of their minds. And sometimes I go to find a job for them. Oh, me no want no criminal. You know? So the society builds up a resistance to people, you know, and that's why the level of recidivism is so high.
Right.
Men, go back down there. I was in Israel years ago looking at a model of rehabilitation. You know what they do? They actually do an audit of the skills and the interest in the prison. So they would go and look at all the prisoners and say, okay, we have some fellows here who are interested in music, some interested in so on. And they would give them the chance to learn that. They are doing some elements of that at the prison. But what is important is that before you actually release, you're tested. So they give you a little 2 weeks with your family during the last year. Then you get another month to see how you
Ease you back in.
ease you back in, see how you adjust. And then they give you an attachment with a trades person or with the person you're interested in. And gradually you fill back into the society and you don't have that burgeoning problem that we have with
Okay. Let me say good afternoon to some people who have joined since. We've been talking for a while. Let me say good afternoon to Shelley Cross, my good friend there from Charlestown. Romella.
Is she cross or is she
No,
carry,
she's a wonderful person.
or
That's
does
sure.
she carry a cross?
She carries
Shortly
a cross.
after Easter.
Randy Clark is with us, as well as Romella Jeffers up there in Florida. Jackie Howell is with us today. And Jessica Lewis down there in St. Thomas. I think I mentioned her already. Yes. Judy Cornelius Webb up there in Judy Cornelius Webb Estate. I was right next to you today, Judy, by Johnny Boston. He had me there for a little bit, talking about monkeys.
you get a little bit.
I get a little bit. I had to go.
Oh.
I made sure I went when I didn't have much time. Tamik, my good friend Tamaki up there in Florida, he's with us, as Terrence Brown, and we have Lauristine David also is watching. And I would have gotten a message from my good friend Dalja Dalpenny down there in St. Kitts, and she's saying she was first on the board and I did not mention her. And, I have to make amends for that because I don't normally miss these things, but for some reason I missed it. And she's saying that her nephew, I believe, Deral J. Richards' birthday, Ingy's son, who works on the boat with him, I think his birthday is also today. So, Deral J., I can't sing for you because you don't listen to me. But happy birthday, and it's coming from your good friend, Dalja Dalpenny down there on St. Kitts. All right? So, Dalja, my apologies for not recognizing that you were on the board first today. I hope things are well in St. Kitts. And you guys are going through some drought situations down there. And if St. Kitts had followed the lead of Nevis on the Nevis Reformation Party, when we were digging our wells, to provide over 1 million gallons per day extra water,
an additional million,
right? Then you would have been you'd have been well off. But you didn't follow us, and since you put down all these developments and in St. Kitts, you asked the Christoph Harbour and Marriott's and Park Hyatt and Kitchen Hill and all these places, you have now, you're using more water than you're producing. And you should have followed us into the millions, the $30 million development the NRP would have orchestrated to bring more water and better distribution to the residents of Nevis. So if you guys had followed us, you wouldn't be so badly off today. Now, we're moving on to another story. You would have seen a press release by the Deputy Premier of this country, Alexis Jeffers, regarding a wonderful program up there at Cherry Gardens, where after 8 years of constant neglect, complaints by homeowners at Cherry Gardens that their septics were overflowing because as the minister indicated, they were not properly constructed during the NRP rush. That is what he's using, rushed to build those homes between 2006 and 2013. And 113 homes, I believe, were built at Cherry Gardens. NRP would have started the remodeling of the septics once the complaints started coming in, and a large number were fixed. NRP demitted office in 2013, leaving the rest of the work to be done by the incoming government of the CCM. And so they had refused for 8 years. They refused to fix the problem over there at Cherry Gardens. But elections are not coming. Elections are coming, and they need a new gimmick. You remember they had the housing gimmick in 2017 when they told people, 2013 and 2017 when they told people, sign your mortgage over to the banks and, you're going to get a lot of money back and blah, blah, blah. And people lost their homes because they transferred from Housing and Land Development Corporation to credit union, end up losing their mortgages, can't pay, and blam, the people lose their homes. It's the first time in our history, in any housing division, that homeowners in affordable housing, government housing, public housing, lost their homes because of a mortgage fraud by this government.
Is a public flagging the government needs for that.
I'm telling you.
And when the people of Nevis could call me the night to tell me that they got a letter, they got a note saying that he will reduce their mortgage. I have a copy of it, and I'm saying to people, come on, Nevis, come on. You want to tell me what is important about that? Is that he really thinks people are stupid. Well, and by agreeing, it makes you look foolish. Because you can't reduce anybody's mortgage. And the only way to do that, it would have been going back to the same Land and Housing Corporation and broaden the base and the allowance. But when they talk about rush, I don't believe the people of Nevis understand what we were doing in 20. You don't understand what we were doing?
It was an economic crisis.
Of course.
People need to work.
250 people were involved in building the Cherry Gardens so that you could spin off.
But I don't want to get...
Not into that. But I'm saying, don't fool people, man. Treat people like they're people.
Well, I'll tell you something. This matter with the septics at Cherry Gardens, I know I was involved with it because I would have... A number of persons who I knew who work in the public service came to me personally to say, listen, put a little more heat on the Housing and Land Development Corporation regarding fixing the septic systems. And like I said, a number of homes were fixed. Unfortunately, time ran out before all were fixed. Between 2013 and 2021, these same complaints by homeowners continued. They didn't stop. Those who could afford to fix on their own went ahead and did it from pure frustration by the non-action by the NLHDC, the Nevis Housing and Land Development Corporation. A number of homeowners took the bite and said, we're going to fix it ourselves because we are frustrated. We cannot have these septic systems as they are. They're backing up, they're overflowing. Whether whose fault is that, that's irrelevant at this point. Fix the damn thing. Fix the damn thing. So 8 years later, here comes Alexis Jeffers in your bald monkey head self talking about, the Housing and Land Development Corporation has agreed to put aside $217,000 to fix 31 septics that the NRP did not fix. 8 years later, you have the temerity, the guts to come talking crap about the 31 homes out of 113 that NRP built.
No, it's 127.
127 homes, sorry, that NRP built in Cherry Gardens. You have the guts come talking this crap about NRP left 31 homes and we're gonna find $217,000 to get them fixed. People have been bawling blood for years, asking for this thing to be sorted out. Took them 8 years to figure it out. And hear the thing now. Hear the thing, Hensley. It comes to about $7,000 a home, by the way. Hear the thing. After hundreds of millions of dollars that came through from St. Kitts under the CBI, you're trying to tell me that $217,000 that broke the camel's back to get homeowners sorted out? Really? This is an abomination. He should be flogged for even having the temerity to come out and talk this crap to people. 8 years later, you're talking about $7,000 per home you couldn't find out of the millions that came every month from St. Kitts? Really? Huh? Come on now. Further to that, the $217,000 was an estimate given by a private contractor to say, listen, if I had to do the work, this is what I would charge. The same minister, Jeffers, going to say to us that because the Housing and Land Development Corporation and the island has little money, Public Works, the Ministry of Communication and Works, will do the work. So because those people already are on the payroll, they get work, they get paid regardless of anything they do. So it might as well use them because they're not fixing anything else right now. So they're going to use Public Works to do the septics. The government owns their own excavator, their own backhoe, so they don't have to worry about that. Those people are already on fixed incomes. They have to put in the fuel or whatever to operate the machine. And then here comes another part. Remember the scandal at Housing and Land Development Corporation that cost me my land over the Cades Bay? Remember that was the series of publications I put out regarding the theft of thousands and thousands of blocks, steel, paint, tiles from the corporation that the minister said they're going to investigate and they're going to file a report. We don't know that ain't gonna happen. So imagine now the 30 pallets of blocks that were brought back to the depot at Bellevue, which I photographed and put on social media. That 30 pallets of blocks is nearly 90% of the block work they need. So if they had secured those 30 pallets of blocks and they hadn't disappeared again, then this will be nowhere close to $217,000 in cost.
No, Kel, say it this way. Just say it this way. Had there been less thieving, just say that. Had there been less thieving, and don't plaster it over and make note. Had there been less thieving, and had it been done when it had been done much earlier, because the longer you take to do something with construction, it costs more, right? Mm-hmm. So had it been done timely, and had there been less thieving, the project would have been done a long time ago. Just say it like that. All these blocks going from A to B and C. Just say it that way, because we still have not had the details of that yet.
All right. Janet Girlhold said she just tuned in. So, Janet, I sang for you earlier. I sang Happy Birthday to you. I saw you missed it. And you need to go back to the broadcast because it was special. All right. So, the issue at Housing and Land continues. The drama build up to an election. They want to say they did something for the people at Cherry Gardens. So, after swimming in muck for 8 years, all of a sudden the deputy premier and the premier is saying, job well done, right? And I would have laid out for you my thoughts on the matter. Now, just a stone's throw, literally, from Cherry Gardens, just across the street, as a matter of fact, is our solid waste site. Our solid waste site. And there, we are not so fortunate because we have an open septic over there, nothing but 2 large holes in the ground that can hold approximately 3 million gallons of raw sewage each. And I've also published pictures of those. And so while I'm grateful to the government for having now seen the wisdom of fixing people's septics at Cherry Gardens, try something across the road and do a proper septic system for the solid waste landfill. Because you are creating a situation there that somebody going to get desperately ill from any fly-borne or rat-borne or cockroach-borne disease. We have been fortunate. I don't know if there's been any real investigation of all these things, but we need to we need to understand this matter at the solid waste landfill cannot continue. We got a call coming in. Good afternoon, your 2020 vision.
Good afternoon, Mr. Daly,
Good afternoon, sir.
and good afternoon to your family. Mr. Daly, I have a very serious problem. Okay?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes, Mr. Daly. Concerning this vaccine rollout and this government who is hell bent on forcing people to take this vaccine. Mr. Daly, it's a very serious situation in this federation. Mr. Daly nobody is going to bully me. When I finish taking the vaccine and something happens to me, who is responsible for me, Mr. Daly?
You are.
Okay. Mr. Daly, I listen well. Let me remind you guys. Let me come up with things.
But let me ask you something.
Remember-
I've heard this line from you before. Are
Okay.
you willing to pursue the matter in the court?
Mr. Daly, whatever it takes, I'm going all the way. So let's move on. Mr. Daly, there's a lady in charge who is in charge of this tourism thing, who is the PS. That is Mrs. Morton. I could recall some years ago, we had a situation with the Bath High School. What she said and they say was contaminated. She was the principal then. They were protesting, they were doing all what they had to do with the Bath High School. Never once, Mr. Daly, Denzel Llewellyn Douglas at the time he was the Prime Minister, give Miss Morton an ultimatum. Go back to work or else. Not one, the teacher had an ultimatum, not even the students. But today these people are giving us ultimatum. Mr. Daly, these things are wrong. Wrong to the highest level. How can you and all of these companies in this country is a part of this bullying of the people? You cannot give us an ultimatum, Mr. Daly. They didn't give us life. Yes, everybody wants the best for the country, and I want the best for the country. These same people who are behaving in this kind of manner, when one lady said, we are holding the tourism hostage. How will we put people holding tourism hostage?
But let me ask you something. Let me ask you something, caller. What would it take to convince you? Is there any possibility of convincing you to take the vaccine?
Mr. Daly, I would be convinced in my time.
Okay.
Do not rush me.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Listen to the guy at the meeting the other day with Lindsey Grant. The guy said he was getting a stroke. I get a stroke. That's how serious this thing is. Because he feels business is going on now. And what Lindsey Grant's reply was, Mr. Daly, he told Timothy 2 weeks ago, the country is dying. Well, Mr. Daly, Timothy waste up the country money. It is not our fault. If we waste up the surplus and build up fear and do the most things with this cash, it's not our fault. Douglas said, yes, money. So do not now come and try to bully us. When the Prime Minister said last year, who out the out, to keeping us safe, and we're the most safe country in the world. So why are you pressuring us and pushing up the pressure, forcing us with this vaccine? We wasn't so scared last year. We're more scared this year. Mr. Daly and the people who are pushing this thing and the poor people need to stop. Because I listen to you guys on program. So the excusers, the company can do what they want. But I see England with the wind rush do what they want and say they want to keep in England. And we're the same people calling them racist. So in this country here of mine, I will stand up for what I believe in. Miss Daly, I will not sacrifice my body for these wicked people to continue enjoying the wicked behaviors. Because if when we don't take the vaccine, all of us, we're going to get a raise. Is Timothy going to be the same Timothy? Bullying up, firing up? These are the questions. And the major question is, if something happened to one of us, Mr. Daly, you know what you just said? We're responsible for our own self. People need to stop. Force poor people. Knock out poor people. It is time enough we stand up. Ratcher, the same man in Nevis and Daniel and all these people fought for us. Martin Luther, Rosa Parks, And it's taking our own black people to be obsessing us. What a shame. And I will continue talking. You guys have a good
All right.
day.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. We had covered most of that issue prior, but we are always grateful for contributions. All right. We were talking about the situation at the landfill just across the street from Cherry Garden. So while I'm grateful for the premier and the deputy premier to finally have addressed the awful situation of the septic systems over there at Cherry Gardens, I'll ask them to, once public works is finished with the 31 homes, move them across the street and see if you can construct a sanitary landfill, making sure that the waste that comes from people's septics, that come from the hotels, do not simply go into the environment, into a pit. It is unconscionable. It's unforgivable. I need to end. It need to stop. You know, I don't know any other country that behaves the way this country behaves, with total disregard for the environment and the health and welfare of our people. You know, this is unacceptable. And we've been publishing about it, been talking about it. Because you can't see the waste, people think it's out of sight, out of mind. And the funny thing about it, you know, people have been getting sick, but you're blaming the wrong thing. You might think you went out to eat and you pick up a bacteria or virus or something in your food. It might be that fly that came from that same outside toilet at the solid waste landed in your food in seconds, contaminated your food with bacteria. So it is something that needs to be sorted out, and I hope this ends up being an issue for the next political campaign, because we've been talking about it, and nothing has been done, and people need to start taking responsibility for these kind of things. Now, the caller alluded to a press conference that was held on St. Kitts yesterday, or the day before yesterday actually, where the gentleman Roger Bisbane, a long-known business person on St. Kitts, basically was on his knees, even though he was standing up pleading to Mr. Grant, Honorable Lindsey Grant, at this COVID task force meeting, basically pleading for life, because we all know that small businesses on Nevis and St. Kitts have been hemorrhaging. The overheads haven't really changed, but of course you have no inflows or outflows of revenue, and so he made a fervent, passionate appeal to Mr. Grant. He said, listen, go back to your cabinet colleagues and report that you have met with us, and tell them the situation that I'm relating to you, that by the end of May, many of us in this room will not have a leg to stand on. There's nothing happening in the economy. There's no stimulus. Our businesses are dying in front of us. Don't wait for us to all disappear and then try to rebuild if and when the economy reopens. Keep us alive. Give us a little bit of stimulus. Help us help others with employment. And Lindsey Grant's response was, which is quite, kind of, in my view, I think he really meant what he said. He said, and I'm going to quote him, businesses are on the verge of collapse. And he would have gone to speak to the Prime Minister 2 weeks ago. And he reported to the Prime Minister, the country is dying. This is the Honorable Lindsey Grant. You might say all you want to say about the charges of fraud and theft about him, but this was a pivotal, poignant response to the pleas of a desperate business community that something must be done. And the Honorable Lindsey Grant, to his credit, like I said, you can say all the things you want about him, but to his credit, maybe this is the Damascus experience or his road to redemption, but to his credit, he said, told the Prime Minister, the country is dying. This is from a cabinet minister who sits and knows all things in the cabinet, all things in terms of foreign direct investment, what's happening in the country. And he can honestly say, he's told the Prime Minister, the country is dying. Well, if Lindsey Grant is telling the Prime Minister in the cabinet, and we all know the NIA, CCM is part of the same cabinet, then Brantley would have heard. Zook would have heard, and Eric would have heard the same plea by Lindsey Grant that the country is dying. He did not think this is dying. He did not say St. Kitts is dying. He said the country is dying. The country is St. Kitts and Nevis. And we all know Nevis has been dead for a while. We have no stimulus plan. We have no money to stimulate anything. That's why the Premier runs to St. Kitts every weekend to try to clear his head, drink some rum, and forget about Nevis people. That's what he does. Stick your head in the sand like an ostrich. You understand? He has a look like an ostrich too, you know. He looks a cross between a donkey and an ostrich, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Roger Bisbee, to his credit, stood up and addressed the Prime Minister, addressed the Honorable Lindsey Grant. And like I said, the response from Lindsey Grant was compelling. The country is dying. And so the issue about surplus after surplus after surplus, the issue of, all these projected GDP growth of 5% that the Prime Minister put out a few weeks ago, is all bogus. It has to be all bogus. Because why would this gentleman, a seasoned politician like Lindsey Grant, be saying the country is dying, and the Prime Minister is saying something totally different? Come on. Huh? It can't be. Somebody's telling the truth and somebody's telling the lies. Who do you believe? That's for you to decide. I guess you're going to believe whatever benefits you. But the fact remains, you're entitled to your own opinions, not your own facts. Every single fact, every single indicator in this country is telling us the country is dead. Dead. You think in 2020, I said 2021 going to be worse than 2020. I'm now saying 2022 going to be worse than 2021. We are nowhere near any horizon to get over this matter. Nowhere near it. And we're going to keep borrowing money to pay our bills, because guess what? The Premier of this country did not take his own advice when he admonished Dr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas in 2010 in the Parliament in St. Kitts, when the Premier was the leader of the opposition. He did not spare any rod on the Prime Minister when he said Dr. Douglas has put the country on a fiscal cliff. We have no savings. We have the highest debt in the region. Spared no lash. We know, Mr. Brantley. The same admonishment you gave to the Prime Minister then in 2010. Where the hell are we now? We are in debt over our heads. Debt over $500 million in debt for 12,000 people in this country. Where are we now with your admonishment? Where are we now? We have to now go run to Trinidad to borrow $15 million for a generator for the power plant. Where are we now? With the foolishness talking about, ignore the noise. These are the noise. These are the noise and the cries of the people from your poor administration of this country. Poor administration. All the ministries you hold, and you failed every single one. Every single one you failed. Talking about ignore the noise. These are the cries of the people. These are the voices of the people. Ignore the noise. I would ask my good friend Rohan Isles put out a post today, and I need to read it to you because it's very short. Very short. And he writes, and I quote him, "To accomplish change, we must face head on the demons of fear and oppression, conquer the lions of deceit and destruction, using love, empathy, truth, and compassion. Our island's decency and prosperity will be renewed. Hashtag change must come. Change must come. And if change doesn't come, I'm telling you something, people. Whatever we get, we need to take. Because we in the Nevis Reformation Party are showing you the light. You either choose to walk to the light or walk away from the light. The choice is yours. But the light is there. We are showing you the way. We have the history to prove it. We have our programs to prove it. We have the foundation of this country to prove it. We are showing the light again. Walk towards the damn light. Always keep your mouth shut from there now on. Mr. Henry Daniel.
Yeah, I think as we wind down, we have been here on Saturdays using our very, for me, critical time because we have so many other under possible engagements, but we have set aside 2 hours. You've set aside the 2 hours to engage the society. And I think I want the society to see that they have a responsibility to themselves to ensure that people who run their countries, who run this country, do the best job possible. Kel, I really do believe that the NRP couldn't get away with all this kind of incompetence, But we don't bring incompetence to government. When we go to government, we go ready to work. I'm sure you recall that during the last election, they say vote against us because we have done too much. It's a very strange thing. So you settle for nothing. It's settling for nothing now.
And then you ball the rest of the time.
And the ball. And then you say that we're doing too much. And I remember Van saying...
I and Adoy saying, we love to ball. We love to ball here and then forget tomorrow. we love to ball and then do nothing about it. So that here we are as a society now. But before you go further, let me remind people, refusing to vote is tantamount to voting for continuation of the same thing.
But of course, I was coming to that to say, despite all, imagine if the opposition is saying that we were doing too much, that was enough reason for the people to go out in like a mighty army, as I used to say, and vote for us. Instead, some of our very own supporters stayed home, people who we had done all that we could for. And now, everybody is in the same basket. We are balling because we have allowed bad mind, malice, ill will to drive our decision to vote or not to vote. And I'm going to say finally that I have been told as we have been oiling our machine to get ready for the campaign, launching candidates and so on. Someone says to me, boy, Daniel, where are you going to get the money from to buy the vote? And I say simply, if I have to buy your vote, he says, look, the CCM going to buy the vote. I say, yeah, but they're in government. And I said, look, if you have to buy the vote when you're in government, it's an admission of failure.
Of course.
It's an admission of failure. And money, running elections when things are tight, causes people to look the other way easily because of the fact that things are tight. But this situation now is so bad, Kel. It's so bad that the people of Nevis have to vote for change. And as Rohan just said, you have to conquer the evils of fear and corruption and so on and put these things behind us. Because what is to happen, Kel? You want to tell me that we come here every Saturday, 2 hours, you go another 2 hours on Thursday and you speak to bring matters to the attention of people and it doesn't mean anything? The people have to care about the country, man. And you have to care about what's going on. Finally, Kel, is this suffering different among CCM and NRP?
Suffering is suffering, brother.
Okay. All right.
Suffering is suffering.
All right.
As the guy said there, some of us are still eating bread with tea and dipping our bread in tea. You understand? When you get to that point,
Days of old.
Let me close by saying, the responsibility of governance is all of our responsibility. All of us, whether you're in government or out of government. When you look critically at any government, you have to first ask this question. What is the output? What is the performance? What are we looking for? Have they succeeded in moving the needle of development? Have they succeeded in bettering the lives of the people of the country? Your personal lot might be increased, but what about your neighbor and your friend, your family, your brother, your sister? You understand? We must end this selfishness. This talk about country of ourselves must mean something. Must mean something. I'm well. I can survive. I'm on a pension. I got money coming in every month. Ain't a lot, but I'm satisfied. Right? But I don't need to be here, busting my belly, busting my brain, to try to help people who don't want to help themselves. But every Saturday, every Thursday, every time I write on Facebook, my love for this country supersedes anything they can throw at me. Anything. Because when I return home, when I decided to come back home, I didn't come home just for me. I came home to share my knowledge, share my love, share my empathy, share my compassion with this country. And many of us are in the same boat. I'm asking people out there, take a critical look at this country. And if you are dissatisfied, and you must be dissatisfied, if you use the metrics at which development is measured, you cannot be satisfied. If you have a personal love for whoever is running the country, that's a personal love. I love a lot of people. I won't give them my money to spend. But my position is clear. The responsibility of change is all our responsibility. You can't rely on the guy down the street or the guy across the road. It's all of us. Staying away from the poll in the next election is tantamount to giving your support to the government. They do not deserve it. If they did, I would have said they deserve another term. They've been in government now for 8 years. 8 years. Name one hotel they have brought. One level of job they have brought. Show me what they have done in healthcare. Show me what they've done in furthering education. Tell me. And I will say, okay, all right, fine. We can have the debate all day, all night. All day, all night. And the result will be the same, because you cannot run a country by liking somebody's socks or how they cook. We're not paying them for that. We are paying them to lead this country to development, to stability, to security, to growth and development. We're paying them to make us more sustainably efficient in agriculture and fisheries, to make sure our children are trained in whatever field that they desire. That when opportunities come, those same children can take that opportunity. We're not having any of that. We're simply going along because we like. There are a lot of people I like. They ain't gonna come in my house. They ain't gonna come and drink my tea. I like them. But the front door is for me to enter. People need to be wise about true development and what it means. And I'm begging you, think critically about your choice of who runs the country next election. It's coming up very fast. And I hope that you make the right decision. It's for all our best interests. Next week, Saturday, we're back, the same time, same station. For those of you celebrating, Janet Girl Hall and of course Daniel Hodge, have a blessed birthday, rest of it. For those who are celebrating next week, Dalja Don Penny, and my forgiveness, she assured me I was forgiven for not recognizing her earlier. And of course, my friend Kitchen King, who is celebrating on Monday. God spare life, everything should be well. For all of you, have a blessed rest of the day. And we'll be back here next Saturday, same station, same time, to give you more information for you to decipher and digest and make a decision as where we go as a country. Good afternoon.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable